Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you from the DeKalb County Library System. And I have well, I always say they're super simple. I think it's a pretty simple project. When was the last time I did anything with pearls? I can't remember. So I thought I'd pull out some precious glass pearls. They're very pretty and just make something sweet and delicate before we head into the heavier fall and winter months. Um, so that's what we're going to do. This is probably our last gasp for anything lighter. I'm probably making that up, but I just came up with this little design and I liked it so much that I said, let me get it in there before summer is completely gone. So what we're going to do is make just a nice little necklace. I'm using 8mm pearl beads and 4mm crystals. And because my very favorite color is red, I'm going with red crystals. I'm going 4mm red crystal rondelles. I'm using 20 gauge wire and a length of chain. And that's it. That's all that this requires to put this piece together. Um, I've kind of drawn a picture. I don't know if you can see it. I mean, didn't draw a picture. I done kind of created the little design. I don't know if this will show it. There it is. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to make the links, and then we're just going to put it together. No, and most of the links are done, but I wanted to show you how to do the links so that we can put it together and make a nice little necklace. So all you need are your usual pliers, your usual tools. Round those pliers because the teeth or whatever you want to call these guys are round. And I've heard them called teeth and arms and all kinds of things. And then you've got your chain nose, or sometimes they're called square nose pliers because they're slightly rounded on the outside, but the inside is flat. And then we have cutters. Not sure what that was on my phone. That just cut your wire. So again, I'm using, and you can use any kind of beads for this. I'm using 8mm pearls and 4mm crystal rondelles, but this, I think, design is going to look really nice in just about anything. I just wanted something that looked a little kind of flowery, and so that's why I decided to go with this. So let's go ahead and get down here to the camera and get started on our piece. So I'm using, what was that? It looked like something bounced. I'm using 20 gauge silver wire, and you don't need much. I'm using a bunch of little pieces of wire that I have because each of my little links only requires 2 inches for these links and 1 inch for these links. So it really doesn't take much. You can use all of your little pieces of wire that you have cut up and didn't have anything to do with them. Now's the time. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make these little links. We'll start with this one. Basically, all we're going to do is put on, and you can cut this down to 2 inches if you want to, but why bother? I just go ahead and leave the piece long, and then I don't waste as much wire. So what I'm going to do, you can make your loops a couple of ways. You can either bend it back, measure 1/2 inch, bend back your wire, make your loop, and the amount of wire that you use for your loop depends on how big you want your loops to be. If you want them to be smaller, then you can use less wire. But I want mine to be, and mine are going to be kind of small. I'm just going about 1/4 of the way down my pliers, and I put my wire in I want to make sure that there's no wire sticking out the back here so that I get a nice round loop. And then I'm going to rotate my pliers just part of the way. I see people going like this. And then you end up with a loop that's all out of whack. Just go in small turns. Be patient with yourself. You don't have to rush it. And just rotate and rotate some more, just small turns until you get a closed loop. Now my loop is closed, but you'll notice that I have extra wire here. In other words, I have a little bit of a neck that I don't want. So what I'm going to do is cut off a little bit of my loop right inside of the loop. I'm going to bring this down a little closer. Right inside of my loop, I'm just going to cut some of it off. That little tail. And now you'll see I have an opening. And then I'm going to finish closing it up. And that gets rid of that little neck that I had sticking out there. Now my neck is nice and clean. And my loop is on top of the wire, like a little lollipop. Okay, now I'm going to feed my beads on. And I'm doing a red bead, a red 4mm rondelle, an 8mm glass crystal, and another glass bead, and another 4mm crystal. This is going to be one of my links. And now I'm going to make a loop on the other end. Now, the easiest, you can go ahead and cut it off and do your 1/2 inch that way. And what you want to do, or what I like to do, my loop on the first one is going this way, so that this is where the end is. This is the end of my wire. I like the other one to go the other way so that the end of the wire is on the other side. I just think it gives it a little bit of a better balance. That's just me. It does not have to be the way you do it. Okay, so I'm going to bend back my wire. You can measure and cut off about down to 1/2 inch. And make my loop. And I'm going down about 1/4 of the way down my pliers. I don't have anything sticking out the back here. I'm going to rotate little turns until I have a loop. And I might need to make a little bit of adjustment, bend it back a little bit. And bending it back causes it to open up. So just close that back up. Until I have a closed loop. And there's my link. Let's do that again. Now, the other way that you can do this is, so I'm going to cut that off because it looks not great. Another way that you can do this is make your loop first. And then I have a little P, and then bend it back. And I just put the tip of my pliers in my loop and bend it back. And then adjust it until it's closed. And I have a little lollipop loop. Either way works. Whatever way you prefer to do it is entirely up to you. Whatever makes you most comfortable in your work. There's no wrong way to do it. Okay, putting on one of my crystals, red crystals, and then a glass pearl and another crystal. My little end tail is over here. So I want the other end to go over there, so I'm going to bend it back this way. Cut it off. Notice how I hold on to this because I don't want it flying across the room, which it will if I don't control the cut. Slide my wire down about 1/4 of the way down my pliers, not sticking out the side here, nicely encased between the teeth. And let's rotate until I have a loop. Yeah. And now notice how they're going in opposite directions. This one's going this way, and this one's going this way. So all I need to do is either hold it with one hand and a pair of pliers and twist it until they're going the same way, or you can use 2 pairs of pliers and twist it. Whichever way is more comfortable for you is fine. Okay, close that up. And there we go. The next length that we're going to do is our crystals. And for that, you only need about 1 inch of wire because you need about 1/2 inch on each side. And this takes so little space, not even 1/8 of a yard. So give yourself maybe a 1 1/8, I mean, 1/8 of an inch. Give yourself about 1 1/8 or 1 1/16 of an inch for your wire. But the best thing to do, just leave your wire intact, make your loop, just like we did the other one. I'm going 1/4 of the way down my pliers, nothing sticking out the back here. I'm going to rotate until I have my loop, bend it back until I have a lollipop loop. And then I'm going to feed on my little 4 millimeter crystal. My end is on this side. I want the other end to be on that side. Bend it back. Snip off that tail. And make my loop. And the other thing I see people doing when they want to close up their loop is using the tip. But what happens is a lot of times you end up making your loop smaller. You want to go back to the same place where you were when you first started rotating and close it up that way. And it's might seem harder, but that way you can maintain the proper circle. And spin that back a little bit. Close it up. And there's my little link. Out. There we go. And there's my link. Let's do one more. Same as the others, just rotate till I have a closed loop. Bend it back until it's lollipop shaped. Put my bead on. Oh, and then there's another way that you can do this. Again, my little end is over here, so I want the other end to be on the other side. So I'm going to bend it back. And without cutting my wire, I'm just going to go ahead and make my loop. Just bring my wire over the top of my pliers and down the side. Open my pliers up, reposition them on top, and then bring the wire around the rest of the way. Sorry about the emergency squad that's going down the street. And I'm going to go right inside with my pliers and snip off that tail. And then there's my loop. Close that up. Straighten out my loops. And there's my link. Again, either way works just fine. Okay, so here we go. Here's the start of it. Now I'm going to make a little bit of a dangle like I showed you in my little picture here. If I can flip back up. I'm going to make this little thing. Just something to have a little dangle in the front. And all we need for that is 2 inches of wire. So I may as well use this. Let me straighten it out a little bit. This is definitely more than 2 inches. And that's really all I need. And all I need for that is to grab my round nose pliers. You don't even need to grab your round nose pliers, but that's what I'm going to do because I think it's easier for you to control. I'm going to fold my wires over until they cross over each other. Make a little loop. Pull it to the size that I want it to be. Don't want it to be too big. There we go. And then you want to decide how long you want this extender to be. And I only want it to be maybe 3/4 of an inch or so. So I'm going to cut this down to 1 inch on each side and then make a loop, and that'll take it down to about 3/4 of an inch. Snip that off. Same on the other side. Snip it down to 1 inch from where it's crossed over. Check that out. So it's a little teeny tiny bit longer, so let's cut that down. And this is very short, so that little tail is going to go flying across the room if I don't control it. Yes. So what I'm going to do is my little thing here, my little spool, and I'm going to cut it till it falls down in there. Ta-da. Nice. Okay, so now I'm going to make a loop that's going down. Just something that I can use to attach to my chain and have a little dangle. This is not going to be the dangle bit. Sort of. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my pliers. I'm going to, again, make a little loop that's about 1/4 of the way down my pliers. Nothing sticking out the back, just like we've always done. I'm going to rotate, small turn, open, rotate back, clamp, small turn, and I'm going to keep doing that until I have a loop. Here's my first loop. Make sure it's closed. There we go. And same thing on the other side. 1/4 of the way down my pliers. Position the wire until it's not sticking out the back. small turn, open, rotate back, grasp, small turn, and I'm going to keep doing that until I have a loop. And there we go. I'm going to curve this just a little bit. Just want a nice little curve in it. And you can keep it straight. You don't have to curve it. It'd be nice to have a little shapely curve in the front. So there we go. Yeah, that's going to be pretty. So now my dangle is going to be a little bit different. I thought I would dangle a red bead attached to a pearl. And that's going to be my little dangle like this. Ooh, actually I have 3 beads. I have a clear one and a red one and a pearl. Oh, I need another clear bead. There we go. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. So again, I can use these little scraps of wire. I love it. So let's go ahead and use that, I think that's enough. Yeah, that might be a little scrimpy. Yeah, not quite enough. So let's grab this. But I didn't waste very much. I love that about doing these things when I can use my excess wire that I didn't use, that was left over from something else. I love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and make another link out of my little rondelle. Okay. That's a bigger piece, then I don't have to deal with this guy. Okay, there's my end. So I'm bending it back in the same direction of the tail so that the other end will fall on the other side. There we go. Snip that off. Loop. And same with the red one. Little lollipop. Bead on. Nope, come back here. And you notice we're just making simple loops for our links. We are not wrapping anything. That's what makes this such an easy little piece to make. Okay, there we go. And voila, I have enough here to use to make No, I don't, because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make an infinity pin for this. So for that, we need approximately, actually, we only need about 2 inches, which is about what this is. Let's try it. This is 2 inches of wire, just barely. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is make a small infinity head pin. So I'm going to go to the quarter of the way down my pliers again. The tip of my wire is not sticking out. You want to make sure it's firmly encased in between the teeth of my pliers. I'm going to make a loop. Ooh, it's fighting me. Why are you doing that? It's going, no, I don't want to be curved. Okay, yeah, it's fighting me for some reason. Okay, make my little loop. There we go. And for once, we don't need to curve it back and make it into a lollipop. We're going to leave it just the way it is. And then we're going to go to the just outside of that loop, slide down just at the bottom of that loop. I'm going to slide down again until I'm a quarter of the way down my pliers, and I'm going to make another loop right beside that loop. So there's a little infinity head pin. Yay! Don't you just love it? Slide on my pearl. There it is. Isn't that neat? All right. And now we just need to make a loop. Now, because this loop is going to attach to, it needs to be the opposite direction of whatever it is you're attaching it to. So I'm attaching it to this, and this is not directional, but just for reference. You want to make one loop going one way and the other going the other way so that they lay properly, and I will show you what I mean. So because my infinity symbol is flat, my loop is going to go up and down. So I'm going to bend my wire back. So this is what I have. My infinity is flat and my wire is going up and down. That's what you should have. Okay, I'm gonna snap. Let me show you the other way. I'm gonna go ahead and make my loop, slide my pliers down, my usual position, a quarter of the way down my pliers, or at least my usual position for this particular piece. Quarter of the way down my pliers, bring that tail over the top of my pliers and down the side until it can't go any further. Then I'm going to reposition my pliers and bring that wire around this bead and under my pliers, like so. Here's my loop. And I'm going to go in with my pliers and snip it off right here where the wire crosses over. So I'm going to snip off that little tail right inside there. Oops. And because there's a big old bead sticking out, you might have to really work with it a little bit. Snip that off. There's my little loop. And I have a little bit of excess wire here that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to snip that little end down a little bit right inside my loop. Off. And I like to do it a little bit at a time because you don't want to cut too much off. if you need to, you can always go back and cut more off, which I do believe I do need to do. Let's cut off another little piece. And now it's open. When I close that up, hopefully that'll take care of that excess wire. And it did. So I have a nice closed loop. And again, my infinity symbol is going this way, and my loop is going the other way. So now I'm going to hook it to my other links. Let's do that. I'm just going to take my pliers. I'm going to open this loop. Now, in order to open the loop, I don't want to pull it apart. I want to just like flip it up like a little cap. Slide my closed looped bead on, and then close that back up again. Same thing on the other one. Just flip it up. Slide on the bead and close my loop again. So that's going to be my dangle. And then let's bring the rest of this out too. Yeah, well, let's not bring it out yet. That's going to be my dangle. This is going to be my little centerpiece. Yeah, that's going to be pretty. Okay, so let's get ready to put everything together. So I'm going to have to bring everything out, and I will be right back to show you how to finish up. All right, here are our pieces. Let's do some assemblage. So I've already done this side, and I'm going to show you how we put these together. So what we're going to do is take one of our, let's put this over here, one of our beads, one of our pearl links, and grab one of my my crystal links. I'm going to open up the ring and slide my pearl link on and close, just like I did with the other one. Then I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to add another one. Open up one of the links. And put the other one on. It doesn't matter which of the links you open. Just open one of them, since neither one of them is wrapped. Just open one of them up, slide the other one on, and securely close that link. And I think we're doing one more on this side. So open it up. Slide on the link and close. And I'm finishing it off with a pearl. Not a pearl, a crystal. Just before we get to the chain. Okay, so this is going to be our two sides here. Yes, nice, very pretty. So what I'm going to do now is attach it to our focal. Let's attach everything. So this is my focal piece. I'm just going to open up this little loop here and slide on my crystal link and close it. And the same on the other side, except that this time, just to show you a different way to do it, I'm going to open up the crystal loop. and slide on my little circle and close it. And last but not least, I'm going to attach my little dangle. So let's open up that loop, slide it inside my little teardrop opening, and close. And little bits of wire out of the way. And here we are. Isn't that lovely? Now we have to finish it off with a chain because this is not long enough. So what I'm going to do is measure. And see what I've got. And that will determine how much chain I want. So I have about a foot. I have 12 inches. And I want it to be about 18 inches. 18 to 20 inches, something like this. You don't want to be too long. Otherwise, your little dangle gets lost down in your clothes and you can't see it. You want it to be up high enough so that it's actually visible and pretty. Isn't that pretty though? That really is. Okay, so what I want to do is add some chain. It's going to be, this is 12 inches. Not including the dangle. We're just going from what's actually measurable, what the circumference is going to be around the neck. So I need another 6 inches to make it 18. And then of course we're going to add a clasp, and that's going to add at least a good inch. So I need another 6 inches of chain. So I'm going to cut this down to about, well, 3 on each side. And remember, when you cut a link, you're going to lose that little bit. So my 3 is right here at the bottom of this one. So I want to cut the other one. And you can, if you just have a length of chain that you want to cut in half and use whatever you have, that's also acceptable. If you want it a little longer, if you want it a little shorter, go for it. Now, when I cut my loops, my links, these are openable links. You can open these if you want, or you can cut them. And when you cut them, it's easier if you just cut one side. It's a lot harder to cut through both of them unless you have some super sharp clippers. So I just hold on to my loop so it doesn't go flying. Cut that and get rid of the excess. So there's one side. I want the other side to be the same. You can do that a couple of ways. You can either count your links or you can measure. Either one works just fine. Okay, there's my 3 inches right here. Right there at the bottom of this link. So I'm going to cut the one next to it. There we go. Get rid of that excess. You can get rid of there. I have to figure out what I'm going to do with this little piece of chain. And let's attach to my necklace. Again, I'm going to open up. It's easier to open and close these than it is to open and close these chain links. So I'm going to open my crystal loop, slide on my chain, close it back up. Make sure it's flush closed. Go to the other side and do the same thing. Open, insert, thumbs in the way, and close. Nice, nice, nice. There's my little necklace. Now it's time to make clasp, and we're going to make it. Why not? So this is where our wrapping comes in. We're actually going to do some wrapping. So what I'm going to do is just make a little loop that goes on one side and a hook that goes on the other side. So I just need 2 inches of wire. It doesn't take very much. 2 inches of wire for my loop. Let's clip that off. I'm going to give myself about 1 inch of wire because I'm going to wrap one side. So I'm going to give myself 1 inch, so I'm right there in the middle. I'm going to bend back the wire, slide my wire all the way to the back of the pliers because I want a nice big loop that my hook can go into. So I'm all the way to the back of my pliers. I'm going to bring that wire tail over the top of my pliers and down the side. Then I'm going to open my pliers up and reposition them and clamp back down and bring that wire under my pliers like so. So now I have a loop. And now I just want to wrap that once or twice. Doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to close it up. And I'm using my pliers because this little tail is so short. Now, one thing that I see people doing is twisting this wire. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that all you're doing is wrapping this wire around this stem and that this stem is not moving. Because if you're twisting that wire, first of all, you're not getting the wrap and you're twisting, twisting, twisting. And then the next thing I know, I have somebody come up to me in class and say, my wire snapped. Well, that's because you were twisting it. So you want to make sure that the only thing that's moving is this little tail of wire that you're wrapping around that stem. And it's so small now that it doesn't want to wrap anymore. So I'll take my pliers and I'll just push it down the rest of the way around my stem. Yes, pushing. Here we go. That's it. And then I'm going to make the loop that's going to attach to my chain. So this one's going one way. And again, like we did down here, I want this loop to go side to side and this loop to go up and down. So I'm going to bend my wire back and this is what I see. There's my loop and there's the side of my wire. Then I'm going to make a loop. You can either do it the way we did before. You can do this with the stem attached. Bring the wire over the pliers and down the side until it won't go any further. Then reposition the pliers. Bring the wire around the rest of the way. Like so. And I can see I have a little neck there. So I'm going to roll my loop down until I get rid of that excess. And then I'm going to grab my cutters, go right inside my loop and cut off that tail. And let's make sure it looks good. So I have one loop going this way, the other loop going the other way. Good. So that's my loop. That's what the hook is going to go into right in here. So let's make a hook. What kind of hook do we want to make? That's a good question. Let's just make one that's functional. Doesn't have to be fancy schmancy. Let's just make a nice functional hook. So what I'm going to do is give myself about 3 inches of wire. It's probably too much, but that's okay. I want to make a double hook loop like this. Fine or not. I think I'm just going to make a simple one. So let's, which is going to be more like that. It's a simple one. Yeah. So let's cut off. I've got 3 inches of wire. It's more than I need, but it's better to have too much and cut off than it is too little. So what I'm going to do is just make a tiny little loop. Doesn't have to be too small because you have a nice big loop for that to go through, so that's no problem. So I'm just going to make a small loop, just about 1/8 of an inch over from the tip of my pliers. Let's make a small loop, just like we did all of our other loops. And then I'm going to slide my wire back to the back of my pliers under my loop. Here's my loop. I'm under the loop. And I'm going to rotate my pliers back and keep rotating until that hook, the top of the hook, the top of my loop touches my wire, just until it touches. So now I have a shepherd's hook. And now I'm going to make a loop that will attach, and this is going to go in this way, like that, boom. So now I'm going to make a loop that's going to attach to my chain. And that's very simple. Let's go down here under that loop. It doesn't need to be a big loop. So I'm just going to go a quarter of the way down my pliers like I've been doing all along. I'm going to bring my wire around and make a loop, just like that. And then I'm going to snip it off right inside the loop, right here beside the wire, right inside my loop. Snip that off. Make sure it's nice and closed. And there we have it. Very, very simple. So let's attach everything. All right, I'm finishing up. So now all I need to do, because nothing is directional here, I didn't really have to worry about which direction my loops are going. Just going to open that loop up, attach it to my chain, and close it. Then go to my loop, open it up, attach it to my chain, and close. And there we have our necklace. Because we made this nice big loop, we have a nice pretty loop on our hook. And just slide that in. There we go. There's our necklace. Very easy, very simple, and very pretty. Let's put it on a display, shall we? There it is. There it is. It's so pretty. And wasn't this the easiest thing in the world to make? We only had a couple of things that are wrapped. So you just link everything together. You can add more to it. We have it extended from a nice little chain, but it comes up high enough that you don't really see the chain too much. I like it. Don't you just love the simplicity of something pretty? Ah, and there's our chain on the back and our little hook and eye. Nice. Oh, I really like that. Should I put it on? Why not? Doesn't really go with my jeans that I'm wearing, but whatever. Pearls go with anything, I think. All right. Oh, I like it. I really do. And this is one of those things that you can dress up or down with. Ooh, crystals are so sparkly. Anyway, you can wear this with anything, as I'm proving in my white t-shirt and jeans. Can't see the jeans, but you can wear this with anything, and it's just so simple and so pretty and so timeless. I really, really am enjoying this, and I really like that I made it. And I'm glad I brought out the pearls because I've just been sitting there. Those of you who have been paying attention know I've recently moved, so I've kind of unearthed things that I have not been using, and this is one of them. So I'm glad I found my little Preciosa glass pearls and we are using them today. Those of you who get kits will get pearls and crystals and wire and chain. And you can just have a really good time with this. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope that you'll make this. Even if you don't make it out of pearls and crystals, you don't really have to. You make it out of pretty much anything. It's a very simple design and you can make this work many different ways with many different types of bead. And I would love to see your interpretations. Please send me pictures because I just really, really live for those. You can get in touch with me at my email. It's jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com. You can also put comments on the library Facebook page, which is Facebook/DeKalb Library. That's Facebook/DEKALBLIBRARY. We would love to see what you make. Please, please, please get in contact with us and let us know whether you like this, whether you didn't like it or not, because I really need to know. I really, 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 really need to know so that I can make improvements if you don't like it and keep going if you do like it. I also like suggestions of what you would like to make because that helps me move it along and do what I know appeals to you. That's it. That is our piece for the day. I hope you loved it. And I hope to hear from you. And I hope we'll see you again. Bye-bye.